Call me sweetheart one more time, Captain, and you'll regret saying it in uniform. The laughter stopped mid-breath. Even the desert wind at Fort Halverson seemed to freeze, dust swirling between rows of stunned recruits. The woman who spoke didn't shout. She didn't need to. Her tone carried the kind of authority you only earn under fire. Captain Marcus Rourke lowered his clipboard, the smirk fading from his sunburned face. 6'2". 3 combat tours, a man who'd made arrogance look like leadership. That's so, sweetheart, he said, still testing her. The platoon snickered, waiting for the inevitable meltdown. But Elena Hayes didn't blink. Her uniform bore no rank, no ribbons, just immaculate precision. Her eyes, steel gray and steady, gave away nothing except experience. Rourke circled her like a drill sergeant smelling weakness. You're on my field. No stripes, no history. You screw up once, and you're gone. Understand? Yes, sir, she said, calm, precise. But you might want to keep that clipboard ready. You'll be taking notes. The men laughed again, uneasy now. Rourke's jaw tightened. Form up, a whistle shrieked. 20 bodies lunged forward into Halverson's obstacle course, 5 miles. 20 obstacles, 50 minutes. Fail once. Pack your bags. Hayes adjusted her plate carrier streamlined Moley rig. Worn from use, every strap cut down to combat length. The sun flared off her Oakley-tinted goggles as she launched into the dust. She didn't run, she flowed. At the first wall, 8 feet high, she vaulted clean, no pause. At the rope climb, her boots locked, arms pulled with machine rhythm. By the second mile, her breathing hadn't changed. 2 in, 2 out, perfect cadence. Rourke watched from the tower, stopwatch in hand, irritation growing. She wasn't struggling, she was dissecting the course like an enemy map. Hell is she made of, one soldier muttered. By mile 4, Hayes had dust coating her sleeves, but her movements never broke form. Knee lift, vault, drop, repeat, at the finish line. She hit the gravel, chest rising slow and even. Timer stopped at 41 minutes 32 seconds. Rourke frowned. That can't be right. Accuracy matters, Captain, Hayes said, wiping grit from her gloves. Her voice stayed level, but her eyes dared him to disagree. The yard went silent. The same men who'd laughed were suddenly studying her the way soldiers study a threat, careful, calculating, respect wrapped in disbelief. Rourke stepped closer, boots crunching on the dirt. You're here to prove something. Hayes, just following orders. And whose orders are those he pressed? For the first time. She smiled small, sharp, deliberate. You'll find out soon enough. The desert wind kicked up again, whipping the Halverson Tactical Division flag against its pole. Somewhere out on the range, an M210 ESR cracked, echoing like thunder across the mesas. Rourke's gaze flicked toward the sound. Hayes didn't even turn her head. She just stood there, calm and immovable. The kind of quiet that always comes before the truth detonates. He had no idea that the woman he'd just mocked as sweetheart once turned a mountainside in Kunar Province into a rescue corridor. 1 rifle, 143 rounds, 26 lives saved. And before this week was over, she'd turn Fort Halverson upside down. Where are you watching from? Soldier, subscribe and stand with the unit, because some stories refuse to stay buried. The classroom smelled like chalk dust and sweat. Maps of the Wagle Valley hung on the wall, altitude lines curling like scars. Captain Marcus Rourke stood at the front, pointer tapping the laminated terrain. The effective range of the M2010 ESR, he barked. Hands hesitated. A few recruits shifted nervously. Then Hayes spoke, quiet but clean. 1,200 meters under standard ops. 1800 with proper wind call and density altitude. Every head turned. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking through him. Rourke froze. That answer wasn't in the manual. It was field data. He set the pointer down. Voice clipped. Impressive. Hayes, did you memorize that? Or live it? She finally met his eyes. Does it matter that landed heavier than a rifle bolt? For a full beat. No one breathed. Then Rourke smirked again, trying to take back control. Good. Since you know so much, you'll lead the navigation drill this afternoon. The class murmured. That exercise wasn't a routine one. It was Halverson's nightmare test, 12 miles of desert navigation under shifting weather. The sun dropped low, turning the mesas red. Wind carried the metallic tang of a storm building over the ridges. Rourke watched the squads fan out GPS denied. Comms jammed by training interference. Hayes led Bravo team, compass on wrist, Harris ANPRC 152A strapped silent to her shoulder. She moved like she could feel magnetic north in her bones. Private Diaz stumbled behind her, panting. "Ma'am, are we even on the map anymore?" "We're off it," she said. "That's the point." Rain started as static sharp drops hissing on their helmets. The valley's dust turned to mud fast. Lightning cut across the range. Rourke's radio crackled with panic from Alpha Team. They'd lost their bearings, pinned between two ravines. "Hold positions," he ordered. But his signal died in the interference. 2 hours later, his team slogged back soaked, cold, and humiliated. Except Hayes's unit. They returned first dry, intact, and carrying one of Alpha's injured recruits they'd found stranded near the ridge. Rourke's fists clenched. "How the hell did you find them with no GPS?" Hayes shrugged. "Use the storm front. Lightning gives you bearing, sound lag tells you distance." Old trick. That answer shouldn't have been possible. That was advanced seer logic used by recon snipers in blackout zones. He stared at her, suspicion growing like rot. Where did you learn that she looked past him at the dark sky? Kunar. Before people started naming storms, his blood ran cold. Kunar. She'd said it like a scar she forgot to hide. That night, in the command trailer, Rourke replayed the day's footage. Every move she made, her angles. Her posture looked like military doctrine. But the file on his desk said she wasn't on any active roster, not Army, not JSOC, not attached. He zoomed in on a frame, Hayes pointing a flare to signal her team. On her wrist, under the mud, something glinted, a worn black band with a KIA tag welded into the clasp. The name read Cade. DSSG. He remembered that name. He'd seen it once on a list from Operation Iron Gale, Wago Valley, May 2017. An operation that had gone silent. An operation where 26 soldiers walked out alive. But 2 didn't. Rourke leaned back, the realization crawling under his skin. If she was who he thought she was. She wasn't here to learn. She was here to watch. Outside, thunder rolled again, long, deep, and far too familiar. Hayes stood alone on the range, eyes fixed on the horizon. When lightning flashed, it lit her face for just an instant, and he swore he saw it. Not fear, not pride, grief. Something about this woman didn't fit the paperwork. And by the time he found out why, someone at Fort Halverson would already be in her crosshairs. Run it again, and this time, try not to die by the manual. The projector hummed like a helicopter refusing to crash. Windows blacked out, AC off, air thick with heat and nerves. On the wall, the scenario map glowed ridges, choke points, riverbeds curling like veins. Captain Marcus Rourke tapped a grease pencil against the legend. "Downed birds here and here," he said, marking 2 smoldering icons. 26 personnel, split across 3 positions. Terrain denies vehicles. Weather's closing. We extract, or we write letters. A ripple of uneasy laughter. He killed it with one look. Alpha with me. Bravo, Shadows. Overwatch will overwatch is useless with that vector, Hayes said. Calm as a blade. Heads turned. She stood in the back, arms folded, eyes on the map like it owed her money. Rourke's jaw flexed. You'll have your turn. Sweetheart, don't miss, she said softly. This one costs lives. He ignored it, spun up the plan anyway, loud and fast. A heroic charge across open ground, the kind that earns statues and funerals. The sim booted. Stormlight filled the room. Static hissed in Rourke's headset and PRC-152A spitting sleet. Alpha push Bravo hook left Overwatch. Check Overwatch died first. Elevated fire shredded the valley mouth. Vests screamed casualty tones. A medic shouted, then vanished. A red helicopter icon blinked like a heartbeat flatlining. Reset, Rourke barked. New vector, Captain Hayes warned. Reset, second run, failure. Third worse. Each time the system's voice cut clean. Mission compromised. Casualties unacceptable. By the fourth, dread hung in the air like smoke. Lightning flashed across faces turned mask white. Then the door opened. Stand down. Captain. Brigadier General Adrian Locke stepped in. His presence rearranged oxygen. Who designed this scenario? Composite from Afghanistan operations. Rourke said. Parameters tuned to Locke raised a hand. Silence dropped like a weapon. Reeves, he said without turning, your assessment. The name hit Rourke like a misfire. Reeves. He looked at Hayes caught, not beaten, like a sniper realizing someone else is holding the round. It's not a composite, she said quietly. It's a reconstruction of what her eyes met his. He couldn't look away. Operation Irongale, Wagal Valley, and Kunar. The year we all pretended to forget. The room froze. Even breath made noise. How would you know that? Rourke asked, though his voice had already softened. Hayes moved forward. Calm. Deliberate, crossing a battlefield she'd walked before. Your vector's wrong. The saddle exposes you to enfilade from the northeast spur. You don't sprint, you disappear. Use the river cut. The cloud shelf. Overwatch here and here 2 eyes. Staggered cadence. M2010 ESR with a night force attack on the far spur. M107A1 on the near for signature suppression. You don't bring them home by being brave. You bring them home by being invisible. Someone started to argue, then stopped as she kept speaking, her voice unlocking doors. Controlled pairs at exposed points. Feed the valley with sound, not heat. Read the wind off the storm cell gusting 9 to 14. 2 o'clock. Density altitude lies. So, trust feel, not numbers. Then MH-47G runs pickup 1. HH-60G holds just beyond sound range. Peel them in layers. Make the enemy chase ghosts. Demonstrate, Locke said. Rourke wanted to stop it to stop the air from smelling like Kunar again, but he nodded. Reset. Hayes slid into the command station. No hesitation, no wasted motion. She ignored the drone feeds. Watched wind, shadow. Silence the way simulated dust lifted when nothing else moved. Overwatch set. Near spur makes the noise. Far spur makes the kills. Bravo. Vanish on my count. 3, 2, 1. The scenario unfolded like a heartbeat in slow motion. Shots cracked surgical, not frantic. Enemy icons stalled, turned, fell for bait that bit back. Rotors whispered over ridges. Teams moving like water under rock. Mission complete. All personnel extracted. Minimal casualties. No one cheered. The silence wasn't awe, it was recognition. Locke faced the room. That's how it was done. That's how it happened. He clicked the remote. A satellite image replaced the sim, a grainy map of Wagal. Date stamped May 2017. One red mark on a spur. Northeast spur. Hayes said. 2 hours 12, 143 rounds. Overwatch for a team that refused to die. She swallowed once. I had a spotter, Staff Sergeant Daniel Cade. He called my wind until he couldn't. Rourke's vision tunneled. A name from a report, a stretcher that never made it to the bird. A call he'd made that felt like stealing time from a storm. Locke turned. Captain, your trainee isn't here to learn. The floor seemed to shift. Sergeant Major Elena Reeves Hayes is the name on her old door. 5th Special Forces Group. JSOC attached. She's your tactical oversight officer embedded to evaluate this program. And you? The platoon didn't breathe. Heat crawled up Rourke's neck. Not humiliation memory. And something sharper. He'd spent the afternoon trying to command a ghost, and the ghost just saluted back. Hayes didn't gloat. Shoulders squared. Grief pinned quiet. This simulation doesn't belong outside a JSOC vault, she said, finally facing Locke. Who put Iron Gale on a classroom wall? Locke's jaw tightened. That's what we're going to find out. The projector flickered. For half a heartbeat, the map warped, then shifted to a new overlay no one had cued. A cursor crawled across the valley and circled the maintenance road behind Fort Halverson. Text appeared, faint and cold. Hello, Nightfall. Missed you in Kunar. Try to find me again. The screen went black. A curse in the back. A pen dropped sounded like a gunshot. Rourke turned toward Hayes, but she was already moving, eyes colder than the mountain air that once kept 26 hearts alive. Lock the base. She said, someone here just reopened our war. The rain hadn't stopped in 30 hours. It came down in sheets, turning Fort Halverson's gravel lots into rivers of mud and reflection. The entire base sat under blackout conditions. Comms were restricted, training frozen. Someone had breached a classified JSOC network, and the message on the simulator wall had proven it. Hello. Nightfall. Missed you in Kunar. The words replayed in Rourke's head like the click of an empty chamber. Inside the dim command center, the hum of the servers felt louder than human breath. Hayes, no. Sergeant Major Elena, Nightfall. Hayes stood beside the operations table, soaked, still in field uniform. Her gloves were black with rain and dust. General Adrian Locke leaned on the console. The message didn't route through Halverson's system. It came through a shadow node encrypted, bounced through civilian satellites. Rourke frowned, meaning whoever sent it knew our internal architecture. Meaning, Hayes said quietly. It came from someone who was in Iron Gale. The silence after that was long enough to feel like a wound. When the meeting ended, Hayes didn't go to her quarters. She walked straight through the rain toward the range past the blackout lamps, past the silence. Rourke followed, keeping his distance at the edge of the firing line. She stood under the tin roof, the rhythmic ping of rain on metal mixing with the low groan of wind. Her hands moved by memory, pulling back the bolt of an M2010 ESR, checking the chamber, sighting downrange into darkness. Can't sleep either, Rourke asked, stepping under cover. Sleep's not the problem, she said, her tone stripped of everything except exhaustion. Memory is... He waited, rain dripping off his cap. She didn't look at him when she spoke again. That message, it's not just taunting. Missed you in Kunar, that's a direct quote. Radio chatter from Iron Gale, right before Daniel died. Rourke's stomach turned. Cade your spotter. She nodded. He was feeding me wind calls. Enemy had our comms jammed, so he used coded phrases. Missed you in Kunar meant they're flanking east. Whoever wrote that message, either they were there, or they found the after-action recordings that never should have existed. Rourke stepped closer. Those logs were destroyed. I saw the report. Did you see it, or were you told to? She asked. He didn't answer. By morning. Fort Halverson was locked down. All data terminals stripped. Every trainee confined to quarters. Rourke and Hayes stood shoulder to shoulder in the comms bunker, watching digital ghosts move across encrypted channels. A pattern repeated a coordinate ping from the Wagle Valley archives. The system tagged it as a reconstruction file. Hayes froze. That's my Overwatch position. My exact grid. Rourke typed fast, pulling the packet open. It unfolded into a mosaic of timestamps, voice fragments, and targeting logs files only accessible to JSOC clearance. At the bottom of the stack was a single video clip labeled Retrieval Zofiber MP4. He hit play. Static. Rain. A mountainside. 2 figures in ghillie suits, one firing, one spotting, then a hit. The spotter, Daniel Cade, collapsed. The camera jerked as the shooter crawled to him. You could hear her voice, ragged through a whisper mic. I've got you. Stay with me. Just stay. The clip ended with her scream. Not the scream of someone breaking one, of someone remembering too late. Hayes turned away, fists trembling. That footage was classified at level 5. It was never released, not even to families. Rourke stared at the blank monitor. Then someone inside JSOC sold it. Locke's voice came over the comm. We traced the signal. Origin point northeast perimeter. Maintenance compound. One of our own servers. They moved fast, silent weapons. Night vision goggles glowing pale green. Rain hammered against Kevlar helmets as the squad breached the compound. Inside, machines hissed. Servers blinked with the soft, blue pulse of unauthorized data streams. Hayes moved like she'd been born for the dark Sig Sauer M17 up. Breath measured. Rourke covered her flank. You think it's a trainee? No, she said. This is surgical. Someone who knows JSOC latency windows. At the far end, a single monitor flickered to life. On it, the same text, hello, Nightfall. Then the camera feed changed. Not Halverson, Arlington, National Cemetery. Section 60. Rourke's heart stopped. The image zoomed in on a grave marker under the Rain Staff Sergeant Daniel Cade, 5th SFGA, KIA, May 22, 2017. The camera panned slightly. A fresh coin gleamed on top of the stone standard JSOC challenge coin, but wrong. Wrong unit, wrong engraving. It bore a falcon symbol. Beneath it, a name etched crudely, Raven Unit, Hayes whispered, almost to herself. Raven was never real. It was a black cell, a ghost op inside Iron Gale. I thought they burned it. Rourke turned. If Raven's still alive. What are they doing here? She looked up, eyes burning with something between grief and resolve. They're not after me. They're after what we buried in Kunar. Which is, she chambered around. Proof that Iron Gale wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a cleanup. The thunder outside cracked like artillery. Red emergency lights bled through the windows as the power grid surged, then died. The compound went black. A single shot rang out. Then silence, when the backup lights flickered on. Rourke's breath hitched because the terminal that had displayed the Raven coin now showed one new line of text, "She's next," and the monitor was dripping blood. The wind moved through Fort Halverson like it was remembering something. Flags hung limp in the gray morning, the kind of silence that feels earned. A week had passed since the Raven breach, since the alarms, the gunfire, the things no report would ever capture. Now, Sergeant Major Elena Nightfall Hayes stood alone at the range. Her rifle, the same M2010 ESR she'd carried through Kunar, rested beside her boots. Bolt open, chamber empty. She'd cleaned it for the last time, not as a weapon, but as a keepsake. Captain Marcus Rourke approached slowly, a folded document in his hand. Locke cleared your name. He said, Raven's files prove Irongale wasn't what they told us. You were right. Hayes didn't look at him. Right doesn't bring anyone back. Rourke nodded. Silent. He placed the envelope beside the rifle. Her reassignment orders. JSOC wanted her to lead the reconstruction of the Monroe Protocol training future teams in integrated overwatch and extraction. Teach them what we forgot, Locke had said. Hayes stared out over the empty range. The horizon shimmered in the morning heat, and, for a heartbeat, she saw him again, Cade, her spotter, smiling through the mirage, the way he'd grin when the wind finally steadied. The way he'd whisper, make it count, she whispered back. Still am. Rourke stood beside her, not as a superior, not even as a peer, just as a soldier trying to understand. Do you ever stop hearing it? He asked. She glanced at him. The shots, he shook his head, the silence after. She smiled faintly. No, you just learned to live inside it. A convoy rolled in the distance, kicking up red dust. Recruits moved across the parade field, new faces. Same fire. One of them paused to salute as they passed. Hayes returned it instinctively. The motion slow, deliberate, heavy with years. Funny, she said quietly. I spent half my life trying to disappear, but maybe disappearing's not the same as being forgotten. Rourke looked at her. Then don't disappear. Hayes turned toward the field, watching the recruits run drills in the heat. They don't need a ghost, she said. They need someone to remind them what valor really means. He frowned. And what does it mean to you? She took a breath. Steady and deep, eyes still on the horizon. Valor isn't the noise we make in battle. It's what survives when the noise fades. The words hung there, suspended in the quiet between them. Hayes picked up the rifle, slung it across her back, and walked toward the motor pool where the new instructors waited, her silhouette cut clean against the light. Calm, steady, alive. Rourke watched until she disappeared into the haze, for the first time in years. The base didn't feel haunted. It felt watched over. He looked down at the spent brass casing near his boot, the reflection of morning sky glinting in its curve. He pocketed it, whispering to the wind, make it count. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the echo answered soft, distant, eternal. Quiet valor doesn't fade. It endures. Where are you watching from? Soldier, subscribe to stories. Unseen and join the unit. The untold stories await.